Here are our panelists. He is Sahil Bhargav, currently from UG Council, and he is head of N-Power. She is Kanchan, currently the Department General Secretary of Chemical. He is Abhishek Khadia, ex-GSA Square UG, and he is Mehul Shah, head of SMP. So let's begin. So first of all, we will go through opening statement. Anmol. You have 3 minutes maximum.
Hello everyone. I am Anmol Gupta, a third-year undergraduate from Electrical Engineering. I'm currently the Institute Secretary of Academic Affairs, and I'm contesting for General Secretary Academic Affairs UG. I have been a part of the Undergraduate Academic Council since the last 2 years. Right from my first year, I was involved in knowing the problems of freshmen through an article survey. I also came to know about the Academic Council when I came in contact with the then GSA Square Shubham Goyal, and I saw how proactive the council was in having its powers and solving the issues of the students very proactively. This led my motivation to become the academic coordinator in my second year so that I can be a part of the process. And I learned a lot through it. In the next year, I became the head of student support services and ISS Square in order to ensure that help is provided to everyone and to build a strong peer-connected community in the institute. And now the next step in the process is to give back to the institute by becoming a GSS Square UG and lead the student body with a vision of my own. My vision for the institute is built around 4 pillars. 1, to increase the level of academic flexibility in the institute. Whether someone wants to change their branch, wants to do a accredited research project in another department, wants to take another additional degree from other department, I want to liberalize all the policy regarding these. 2, I want to enhance the student experience in the institute. People here face a lot of problems when dealing with system inefficiencies, lack of information, strict rules, etc. I want to aid all of them to mitigate the problems. 3, I feel that the IIT Bombay undergraduates have a lot of potential for research, whether it is industrial-based or application-based, and I want to aid them to conduct more of that. And lastly, I want to improve the career prospects and the employer reputation of IIT Bombay students. Right now, most of the students prepare for placements, but either they do it through some scattered sessions or based on their own motivation. There is a lack for a structured program that could provide them more better opportunities, and I want to help them through all this process. So yeah, that was my vision for the Academic Council. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to second round, that is manifesto debate. So let me give you the idea how it will go. First of all, maximum 6 points can be discussed, and on each point, maximum 5 minutes can be taken. There are no other constraints. So let's begin.
Hello. Yes, so in your manifesto, you have mentioned the point, reinstate the system of issuing FF grades in place of FR grades in case where the in-semester performance and the attendance of student is satisfactory. I have 3 questions for this. What was the original system that was in place? And you have mentioned that you are going to reinstate this, so I would like to know what was the original system, why was it removed, and what has changed in the institute to demand this again? You got the questions right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the system dated back to some years. The system consisted of issuing FF grades when the system is practically the same. If some student has not performed very well in the in-sem examinations, but in the in-semester examinations his performance has been decent, his attendance has been decent, then he would be awarded an FF grade, under which he would be allowed to give another re-exam of 50% marks or similar to that, 50% or 40% marks, and then he could pass the grade with a maximum grade of 4 or DD. Now this system was removed around the year of 2007. And the reason that they quote behind removing this grade was that they felt that the II grade would suffice for that. The II grade is given to people who are not able to give the end semester exam due to any medical emergency, but they have performed decently till the end semester performance. So it was decided that the II grade is sufficient for just MSc students, and undergraduate students don't really need this. But now it has been felt from the student side that there is a strong demand to bring the FF grade back, because of the fact that the in-semester performance, if they have done decently well, and just one day they have not been able to perform well, it really does not make a lot of sense to make them repeat the whole course, carry all of the burden of backlogs, which could affect their semester exchanges, which could affect their internships, placements, etc. The idea is to give students one more chance, so that they can improve all their academic prospects through that.
Okay, so my point over here is that when you say it can be bettered and the student will be able to give the exam again, so earlier it used to be that the student can only get a DD grade, as you mentioned, right? So that in itself creates a huge gap in terms of what the student can actually get and the overall CPI, right? So wouldn't there be like, can there not be a better system than having this being implemented? As in to say, the student being allowed not to sit through the entire course, just do it as a guided study and then at the end give the exam and get this grade.
Fair enough. So I myself had this system in my mind when I approached a number of HODs, but almost all of them were of the opinion that a student, if he has failed a course at least once, then he needs to go through the course again to gain a proper understanding of what the course content was. So they were of the opinion that at least in case of one FR, he needs to do the whole course again. In case of, if he has failed the course more than once, he is failing the course twice or thrice, then they may consider a possibility of giving him, of allowing him a guided course study. But if he has failed the course just once, then the FR grade is what is proposed as the best solution. And talking about your issue of affecting the CPI, I feel that more than the damage that is inflicted by a damage on the CPI, it's more important that we consider the effects that are getting to him by considering the number of backlogs that he's carrying. Like if he has even one backlog, you can consider that a backlog is not really, a backlog affects the students in a number of ways. The way I mentioned in my first answer, it affects his internship opportunities. He has to repeat the whole course, either next summer he might get an extension. So keeping all these in mind, I think the best trade-off is to give him a DD grade instead of after the exam, instead of allowing him to do a guided study, which the HODs are not in favor.
That is good enough. But the point is that, as you mentioned, it is required in the case when the student is not performed well in the end semester examination, and the student has performed good in the end semesters, right? That was the early criteria of the FF grade. So if that becomes the case, then why not why II grade is not enough? Why the II grade is not enough in the situation where you can just modify the II grades purview, making it to allow students who just have end semester failures, or so to say the end semester failures.
Can you repeat the last part of the question again?
So the II grades current purview is that it only allows for the student who
30 seconds left.
who have a medical emergency. Can you not work around with that thing itself, rather than allowing for a new proposal? Right.
So if you want to allow this also into the academic purview, then
Just to mention that it will allow the student to get a better grade than 4, which you are proposing with the current.
But if you consider the other students who might be facing a number of problems with the course, they think that I might not be able to pass this course, they will deliberately try to fail in the NSEM and then give another exam through the FF grade. So that is why this system is better than the II grade, because II grade does not really limit the grade to a higher number.
Then is it not a waste
thanks,
of
sir.
institute's resources?
Next question.
Another point from the manifesto, follow up on the implementation of two-strike system. So my question to you is, why do you want to have a system of penalizing the student instead of having a system where you could strengthen the program and help them come out of the ERP system?
So this system is not exactly to terminate the students, first of all. The system mentions, the point mentions clearly that they will get a subsequent temporary withdrawal from the program. A two-strike system, while it is implemented in the Aero department, is considered to be harsh by a number of people because of the fact that they consider termination after 2 strikes. But here we want to modify the system to include the part of temporary withdrawal in which we want to withdraw the hostel facilities of the students and let them get a real world scenario of what world
Are you saying that you will withdraw hostel facilities? That would be a temporary withdrawal.
Yes, temporary suspension from the registration.
Define subsequent temporary withdrawal. All those conditions, what would be?
Yeah. So if a student has gotten two strikes in one semester, then he will be, after proper consultation with the director and the parents, he will be told to, he will be considered to have been suspended from the institute for a minimum period of 6 months, in which he will be asked by proper consultation with the parents again to do something out of the institute to regain his confidence back. The whole idea is to let him go out of the hostel environment where people generally stick. And professors have this opinion that the hostel environment is one of the key reasons why ARP students are not able to bring back. In addition to that, when you think of strengthening the system, I already mentioned in one of my point of student support services of DAVP that we're also trying to help the students who are not.
We will come to that later.
Sure.
So, there had been some guidelines, and ARP committee discussed and formulated a guideline specific to ARP and what to be done in case of where a student is falling behind. Subsequently, so the initial guidelines was that the student can be removed if the student is failing to adhere to clearing out the 18 credits in one semester, right? The institute has not been able to remove any student as of yet. As far as I know, even the aerospace department has not affected any student as such to remove them or have a temporary withdrawal. So there is no precedence over here. So how do you wish to implement this? And it still does not answer our question of how does it actually strengthen the program? How do you help the student in coming out of ARP?
So it really has not been implemented in Aero properly so far. The issue was passed in Senate in 2009. It was not implemented properly though. But here's the thing that even after temporary withdrawal, if a student feels that he is confident enough to come back to the college and to clear the courses, he will be given a fresh start. All the backlogs will be cleared from his course of study, and he will be given a fresh start into the system. Because the whole issue of carrying so many backlogs into the semester itself is a huge burden on the student. If someone wants to clear more courses, he always has this back of the mind that I have so many backlogs to clear. But once he gets out of the system, once he goes out of the institute, and the idea was propagated by a number of faculty to me, that maybe you can consider this to work effectively in some departments, that if they go out of the college and like do something.
So basically my question is, so you're suggesting that the student leave the institute for an entire semester, right? So you're adding another semester to the time that he can get his degree back, right? So that would entail more backlog that you're actually suggesting, right? So how do you suggest that, how is it actually helping him get his degree finally? Please elaborate on that.
Fair enough. Now, you're not considering the fact that the student has not been improving so far. He has 2 strikes, he has a number of backlogs, and the present system is not really helping him. We can try providing counseling services, etc. But that has been a general trend that...
So how is this new system going to help the student? You mentioned that the students after coming back to the institute will not have any backlogs, but in actuality the student does have a backlog, right? The student has not completed those courses, and in addition to that, the student already is lagging behind 1 semester from his or her peers.
So lagging 1 semester is fine because of the fact that if he were to stay into the same system, he would have taken a lot more time than if he hadn't got that experience out of the institute as well. But because of the fact that we are giving him a chance to get out of the hostel, know what actual real life is, and then he can come back to the system and then subsequently clear all the...
Actual real life doesn't help you get through courses. And also, once you break your continuity of studying, it is all the more difficult to pass courses now. So I think you're making it more difficult for the student to clear out of ARP than it was.
So there has been incidences where the student has been suspended for a semester due to certain reasons. Have you talked with such students and tried to understand the mentality of how it affects their actual academics?
So I haven't gotten a chance to talk to students who have gotten temporarily suspended from the semester. But talking about the system of breaking the continuity in studies, the issue here is that it's not something that we are just sending any random student out of the institute. The the system that we have created for him, it's just not helping the student so far. We can try to provide counseling, but the fact here is that institute really does not want to invest more and more resources in ARP students, and that's why there is a need to formulate a proper policy that can help him get with the change of environment. And if he's not performing really well till so far, then there is a need to get him out of the hostel and like, yeah.
Okay, let's move to third point.
The second point in academy policy reforms, strive for internships after 4th year, right? So what sort of internships are you looking for, and what is the target audience that you are catering to?
So the target audience are all the students that are enrolled in the dual degree programs. And the internships could be of any kind, so to say, whatever the student wants. If he wants to do a core internship, a non-core internship, a university intern.
Can you just quickly mention whom have you done the groundwork for this particular point, and elaborate on what would be the purview of this program?
Okay. So right now the system is that students in dual degree programs are not technically allowed by the institute to do an internship after 4th year, but some of the students are allowed on a case-to-case basis, and that is on a very informal level. It depends a lot on the HODs, it depends a lot on the obtaining a proper approval from the guide, etc. And that's why the system is unfair to a number of students, because it comes down to a person's approval of whether you want to allow the student to do an internship or not.
Are you aware why it is not allowed currently?
Yes, it's not allowed currently because the institute says that a student has to spend a minimum of 14 months for DDP project. So that's why the system is not allowing that. Yeah. So I talked with a few HODs regarding this who already who have students through JEE intake in dual degree programs. One or two of them were not in favor of that because they believe that institute is spending resources on them, and that's why the students should do more research. But other HODs were in favor that if the student is properly is doing the whole DDP properly. If maybe you could allow the student to start a DDP before, let's say 2 months before. For example, I mentioned a provision of fast tracking of dual degree programs. That's one way in which we could do that. Another way in which we could do that is if a student, like this proposal is being considered for MTech internships. That is a very strong point for this proposal because faculty have
we are diverging from this particular point, I guess. Right. So let's get back to the groundwork related point. So you mentioned that you met with a few HODs and you mentioned that 2 of them denied it. What were the exact numbers? Number of HODs, let's say.
So I talked with the HODs, 4 HODs who have been running the dual degree program.
Right. Yeah. So 2 of them disagreed to this. So half of your actual groundwork, if you scale it up, half of the institute, right? So in that sense, do you think it's feasible because in the Senate, these HODs, so half of the Senate would be against you for the sake of extrapolation?
Just for clarification, he mentioned that in MTech it was proposed, but it was rejected currently.
Yeah, it was
rejected like a week before.
Okay, so I was told that it was reverted back with a few suggestions and all, and that they wanted the start point of the internship to be variable.
So currently it was rejected. Yeah, Khadia, continue with your point.
Yeah. So for this, as I mentioned, 2 of the HODs were in strong disagreement to the point, but they were also in approval of the provision of fast tracking of dual degree programs. Now, coming back to the HODs who were in favor, like not in strong favor, but they were of the opinion that students already do it on a case-to-case basis. So if the whole viewpoint of their HODs was that if the student is properly performing the DDP well, then we can allow for a student to do a DD internship in his 4th year.
Case to case is something which might not be considered as unfair because it's an exception, right? You understand the difference between an exception and a policy. So why do you want to make this into a policy? That's our point over here, because you already mentioned that some of them are already in disagreement to this. And if that is the case, can you mention the pros and cons which they have stated to you or you have come to know through your groundwork?
30 seconds left.
The very motivation behind this point is to allow DD students to do an internship, because in third year they do not get all the available opportunities, and they're required to, and in fourth year the institute is not allowing them to do an internship through the PTCL or otherwise. Now, the case-to-case basis, I feel that's unfair is because a number of students want to do a DD internship, but they're not able to do it because of not having a proper guide. So if we are letting the system to depend on a person's approval and not on what the system could give back to the student, if he's convinced that he can do a proper dual degree project and at the same time maintain his internship, then there should be a proper system in place that allows him to do a DDP as well as his internship. So if we can allow him to start his DDP 2 months earlier, as has been proposed in like other institutes like IIT Madras, etc., then this could very well be established here also. That's the whole point of that.
Like the PTs, what will be the system that you will establish? Will it be under the purview of PT cell, and how it will affect the third year students who are also going for the internships?
So PT cell is very much ready to allow more students to do a DD internship in the fourth year. I've talked to a number of placement managers, and they think that it should be a very great idea if we allow that, because when the companies come, they always ask for DD internships for fourth year.
Time's
I
up.
feel that it's not be
Time's up. Let's move to next point.
So you made a point on Admin Connect that would connect all the students. So firstly, what authorities are you targeting? Second, how would you monitor and basically monitor the queries that are being raised? I could ask anything from there's no water in my hostel to the to the authority. And thirdly, who all student councils are going to be included in this?
So the authorities that I'm targeting in the first phase of its implementation is majorly Dean AP and Dean SA, and because they are the authorities that are concerned with major of the issues that students face. Second, the moderation will be ensured by the General Secretary on a bi-weekly basis. Let's say maybe if he can take out time like on a Wednesday or a Sunday, then he would be moderating the queries, and all the queries will be moderated. He would be the portal will have a system in which the GS can decide which query he wants to forward to the higher authorities and which query does not have to be forwarded, and he can reply on his own. And he can reply on his own if he does not feel the need for passing the query further on. And yeah.
Also, you're aware that this was a point of a previous GS A square and Suresh did not take it up, the current GS A square. So what do you think were the reasons behind this? It would not actually being implemented previously and the present GSAs were not taking this up.
So I think that a number of problems that could have come up into the system was the first, of course, the moderation and how many students they want to involve in that, in the moderation part. I think this was last year's point of conducting AMA sessions, but this wasn't really a manifesto point, and the idea was approved by the director of the institute on a verbal basis that this could be done.
You cannot quote authorities. Speak on mic.
Okay, so this was approved by some higher authorities that they feel that a system like this is that should be in place, and it has already been tried once because one of the ex-higher authorities actually conducted an open Reddit session, and that was very successful. So we just want to extend this to a whole semester and allow bi-weekly, weekly answers by the deans, etc., so that they are able to connect better with the
Don't
students.
take higher authorities' names. Don't quote them.
The initial point still stands. In terms of what will be the overall purview of this particular portal, in the sense, what kind of queries would be entertained over there?
Also, do you think it is fair that the present GSA square gets to decide what is to be forwarded to the dean or to the higher authorities?
So I'll answer the second question first. I think that someone is required to do moderation in these queries. Like even if you have some department open houses, as is had by a number of departments, it comes on the responsibility of the DGSEC or the DAMCOs to ensure moderation. So if we apply similar analogy to here, it makes sense to allow a GS to moderate the queries because he's expected to have done groundwork with a number of people and expected to have this much knowledge about which query should be forwarded or which query should not be forwarded. Now talking about which kind of questions are we looking at, then it could be queries it shouldn't be personal applications or something, but it should be queries that affect a large number of people at the same. For example, if a student can ask the dean's opinion on why are you not exactly allowing dual degree students to do internships in their 4th year. These kind of queries which affect a large number of people and on which students want to know the institute's stand on that could be the kind of queries that will be answered by the dean. Do you want me to expand more on some examples?
Okay, let's move. Do you want to? Okay, let's move to next point.
So you have mentioned about student-faculty mentorship program to all undergraduate departments with student enrollment on a voluntary basis. So I have a few questions for that. What do you propose with this, and what do you mean by voluntary over here? And how would you go about execution and the funding related to this?
So this program has been originally obtained or modified from the CSE department. They had it last year from a pilot run, but they targeted mostly the freshman students. They had compulsory enrollment and they allotted faculty to a group of 15 students, 10 students. We want to modify this program to apply to a number of departments. We will be focusing mostly on the sophomores because those are the students who actually come in contact with department faculty and then they feel the need for a faculty-student interaction. So that's why we're majorly targeting the sophomores here in the first phase of implementation. And then talking about,
What was exactly done in CSE department and how would you execute and fund your program?
Okay, so in CSE department, they allotted faculty to groups of students. And it was the onus of faculty that they would be calling students for meets or something, and they would be put in groups, WhatsApp groups or something, so that they can interact better. Now here, what we are redesigning the system is that we are pitching to the students and faculty that this is a voluntary program. The fact that it's voluntary has a lot of value because students are signing up for that, and it will be majorly student-driven because of the fact that a number of HODs feel that if you want to increase faculty-student interaction, it has to come from the student side. So students and faculty will be signing up on the program, and then we propose to have bi-monthly or monthly meets in some informal settings like some cafeteria or something, in which the interaction will not just be limited to academic purview, not just be limited to what kind of work you're doing, but also limited to what a professor actually is. A student looks at the professor, thinks he's just a lecturer, but in fact he's much more, he has a lot of experience behind him. So that's why we want to.
So in general, if you are going to implement this to a lot of departments, you need to take care of the accountability, right? So how would you make sure that the faculties as well as the students who have applied for this are doing what they're supposed to?
Okay. So as I mentioned, the HODs are in support of having programs for faculty-student interaction. So that's why we're going to involve departments in that. We're not going to start with a full-fledged program across multiple departments. We're okay to start with a small number, even if 100 students sign in the first phase, that's okay. We're going to build on the feedback that we receive from them and then pitch it to multiple departments. And the department, DG6, the DAMCOs, etc. will try to ensure that there's a proper participation from the students in all of this.
How are you going to ensure, as you mentioned, there will be teas and cafes and everything included? So
I can't hear that.
I'm asking, what will be the funding and how exactly where the funding is going to come from? Have you done groundwork on that from?
So the way it was done in CSE, they had funds from the department itself. In this setting, when we were starting it on a small basis, we could encourage the faculty to have informal meets, and then they could use funds from their own, because it's not a really big commitment for the faculty side to meet students monthly or bi-monthly, either time-wise or monetary-wise. But if we plan to scale this department, we can also approach the department's HODs to ensure funding for this program and then focus on its institutionalization. The first step is to start it on an informal basis and to gauge the feedback and then expand. And if we feel that there is a need for funds to be pitched in, we can bring in the institutionalization of the program.
So coming to the student support services.
This is the last point.
So you have mentioned about having TAVP as well as good TAs for the TSC itself, which is under your purview. This is supposed to be a student mentor program body, both the DAVP as well as the elite. Why do you want to go into this, and how are you going to ensure that you would get good people for this?
That's true that it's a part of the student mentorship program. But from my groundwork, I have come to know that the sessions, they require more a wider reach, a wider publicity, and that's why it's felt by the people who run this program that there is a need for involvement of academic council in this. So that's why we propose to provide more active involvement in this program. Now, talking about DAVP, even if we talk about TSC is run on a rather informal basis. Like, we do not have commitment from TAs in the initial period that you need to commit to these many sessions, etc. On the other hand, the DAVP will be built upon students' commitment properly. As I said, it's a proper wing in the DM department. So we will choose students who can commit that I can manage my courses properly throughout my semester, and I will be able to take 2 or 3 sessions when it comes to any tough courses which I have fared well in my previous years. So that's why it depends on a proper selection criteria and having students commit to this.
Okay, you mentioned that there is a need for the involvement of the academic council. So what has been the stated need, and what will be the role of the academic council in this? Okay.
So the role has been stated is that the way elite is done so far, a lot of it depends on the way elite is reached out to people, the way it's portrayed to the people. If they conduct a session for apping or something, then it gets a very great turnout. But then a number of sessions, they don't get a really good turnout. The fact that elite is something that should be expanded to a number of people, are in need of that. We're not getting the required response from the people for this. So one, we would help in the publicity of this program. Second, we will provide more involvement in the structuring. Let's say like we might introduce some department level points, some department level.
So basically, from whatever you have said regarding elite, I understand that you are going to help with the publicity as well as just making it famous, right? What would you change in the structuring in the present structure of the elite program?
Yeah. Right. So in the elite sessions, we can also make the change in structuring that I propose is to also have sessions that would be oriented to a career program also. For example, let's say there are some soft skill development sessions. Then
that is already being done. We are doing, elite is done for 2 sessions, and one of the session has the target to help them with their career choices as well as building those soft skills.
Right, and career cell also conduct similar sessions for soft skills development. So that's why we want to include both of these bodies into the same thing and ensure that elite is also reaching out to more people through that structured program of English sessions and all.
Also, primarily, the SMB team consists of almost 150 DM mentors and about 80 odd ISMP mentors. So even with such a large team, they're facing some issues in the implementation. How do you think you can make a difference via the structure when it does not even lie under your purview?
It's about elite, right?
Also, talking about the publicity, it is better we have as you mentioned, we already have about 240 mentors, right? We can do the publicity which can be done from the student mentor program. How would you do it differently apart from, say, sharing of posters?
So answering the first point, even though SMP has a very large team of mentors, the elite sessions are primarily handled by the English cabinet, and they are the ones who overlook most of the program. Now, there is a need to involve more logistical support in these sessions, to involve let's say the ISS square of SSS in these sessions, so that they can ensure a better reach and a proper structuring to the feedback. And coming to your question about publicity.
In the last sentence as well, I get the words that you would be helping with the reach and all that. You would have one more person to do that. How are you going to do that? How would you do that? You are just saying.
Institutional difference.
Yeah.
Plan of action, basically.
Exactly. So
What
you
is
have
your
mentioned
plan
you
of
would have people to just allocate it for that, but how are you going to achieve that?
So one of the prime concern that I got to know in the last year was that even though forms were floated for the mentorship program, for the dual or elite program, not many students signed up for that from each department. So that is one way in which we could reach out to more people, because to ensure that there are more TAs for these kind of sessions, because yeah.
How would you get more TAs? Can you just repeat that? How would you get more TA applications? You mentioned we were not getting good applications, right? How would you get more applications?
Second more. He's not answering last.
Okay, so like lastly, like DAVP would directly lie in correlation with the department courses, right? So primarily the Institute Academic Council does not have a direct understanding of the courses. So how can you even help in the DAVP mentors, and that again lies under the purview of the DAM coordinator.
Again, so that is the whole point, is just to propose to introduce a support wing in the department. The onus will be on the DAM teams itself to conduct a proper selection process of the TAs. The whole idea is that the DAM teams feel that there is a need for the DAVP wing in the departments who can find time for other courses, etc. So that's why we are just proposing to introduce this wing in the department. We will not be directly involved in the DAVP program itself.
Last question. Okay, so now let's move on another part, that is topic debate. So in topic debate, first of all, we will pick the cheat from the crowd. So we have 4 cheats. From that, we will pick 2 cheats. These topics will already told to candidates and panel member. They will have discussion. So first of all, candidate will speak on that topic for 2 minutes. Then on that, each panel member will give their reviews. And after that, they will take 4 questions from Anmol, and then we will have 2 minutes for debate. Total time 12 minutes. So first point is, currently in freshmen there is very large classroom system, and in senior batches, to reduce the classroom strength, the sections are made. What is the identified problem in both of the system? Do you think GSA UG can tackle this issue? If yes, how?
So I personally feel that smaller classrooms are better for more interaction with students. When I talked with a number of freshmen, all of them felt that it would be better if we could have smaller classrooms, if we could interact better with the faculty. Because in large LAs, what happens is that they don't really get to interact with the faculty, they don't really get to look at the faculty and to ask questions properly in large classrooms. So I personally feel that small classrooms are a better method. And for example, if you consider tutorials, then tutorials are actually where most of the learning happens, as has been stated by a number of freshmen. But the issue with this system is primarily faculty, that they would need to find more faculty for these issues, for the smaller classrooms, and to ensure that the division is made properly. Like right now, the division is based on by clubbing 2 branches. Now, if we introduce smaller classrooms, then there will be issues with timetable slotting, etc., finding the number of faculty. Now, also, if I remember correctly, a proposal regarding this was passed or approved last year, but it wasn't really implemented. It wasn't put into implementation. I think that even in senior years, like there are sections for students, but that creates a wide disparity in a number of branches, because some sections feel that the other section has been graded better, the other section has got maybe somewhat a nicer teacher, and that's where they often resort to like changing sections or something. So that are the issues with smaller classrooms as well when it comes to sections. But if we look at first year students, this similar issue is not faced by the first year students. You can never hear them complaining that much that the grading was done, it was unfair for us, it was unfair for this or that, because the first year courses have a very centralized system of deciding what course content to be covered, how the grading is to be done, etc. If we can implement all of that on the senior departments level also, if we can have proper meeting with the faculty, and the faculty can decide on a common course content, because the difference in course content is very essential for higher courses. If we go to higher courses,
Yeah, speak.
if we go to
Complete.
If you go to higher courses, then some students might not have done some part of the course content and some section might have done that. So that's a very big problem that needs to be tackled. And I think that it's important that we introduce smaller classrooms, but with a better overall logistic planning and centralized system to ensure that there is more faculty-student interaction, to ensure that the teaching experience in general is increased.
Okay, let's move to review. 1 minute each. Okay.
So just a general comment, which we felt that you had mentioned about the pros of having smaller classrooms. We just wanted later on during the debate, we want to understand what are the pros and cons in both the system. And that is something that we would want to discuss. I'll just shed a bit of light on what was the proposal that you mentioned. So it was something that was proposed, and in principle it was agreed that there is a need for having smaller classrooms for the first year students, as we can see that the interaction is missing to a certain extent that we can largely see. But at the same time, this was something that was sent to all the departments which are concerned with the first year students, and Department of Mathematics, Department of Physics even replied back saying that they cannot accommodate the system, citing some reasons. So later on we would want to know what these reasons are, and in terms of the discussion can go to many different parameters. I think you have missed out on a lot of parameters. We would like to cover those during our discussion in itself. One more thing, you mentioned that we are having, so we already have this senior students who are having smaller classrooms and they are having sections, right? So how do you draw this comparison in between them, and have you seen such example exist in any other IITs?
Okay, so view.
Questions?
No. First of all, view. Okay, so let's move to 4 questions. First of all, you will ask question, he will answer, then we will move to debate.
So my first question directly coming to it, what are the pros and cons of both the system? Can you just state it out?
So the pros of a smaller classroom system are more faculty-student interaction, an increase in a better individual evaluation. The professor knows everyone, how he has performed. The grading system can be more innovative. He does not have to implement everything in a rugged manner. Number of courses, he can introduce projects, etc., which can be evaluated better in a smaller classroom. And the cons, which I feel, are the availability of infrastructure, faculty. Yeah, those are the 2 major issues. Not exactly cons. I feel that these are the issues in implementing the system. And talking about the large classroom system, I think that the pros are that the faculty gets to, again, there are smaller number of faculty. An institute in general is facing a shortage of faculty, so it's better for the institute resources, etc., to have better classroom, to have larger classrooms. It helps better when you want to consider all the students as one and implement a common grading scheme. As has been pointed out that in sections there are disparities. This would not happen in a small common in a large common classroom.
Okay, we do not see a manifesto point in this regard. So do you plan to do something about this, and what are your opinions on this?
So from the freshmen I talked, I think close to 60-70% of students felt that there is a need for a smaller classroom system, which I feel was not as high as I expected it to be. I felt that maybe more number of people would have wanted to do this, but still I feel that 60% of students is a good enough number to consider for pushing for a smaller classroom system. And I'll try to be in contact with the departments and try to push for having smaller classrooms and try to sort out what all the issues they have with the proposal that was pitched in earlier.
Right, so that brings me to the next question. What were the issues that were posed by them? Why they opposed to this particular proposal?
Like I mentioned, I think the major issues that they had were the number of faculty that they had.
Next.
And the proper having classrooms, number of classrooms, because they would need to have more classrooms for these. Like these are the two reasons that come to my mind. It would be great if you can suggest any more.
Okay, last question. So if you are planning to propose in this direction and to implement something in this direction, what would change in this one?
Continue that in debate.
First place. So I will initially have a proper talk with them about what are the issues that they're facing, and then see if something is possible in my purview as a GSS square. Because I clearly cannot like push for more faculty, but I will try to see if there are certain issues that can be solved by me in my powers, and then see if a proposal is possible for that. So I'll have to like first get to know what are the problems that they have faced with the proposal, and then try to improve on them.
Okay. So next topic is, do you think grades and attendance of a student should be shown to guardian/parents? Justify. What would be your stand on parent portal as GSA square?
So I feel that if such a system is put into place, there is a strong need to consider what the student wants to do. Like all the students of IIT Bombay, they are mature enough to decide whether their parents want to or should have a look at their grade cards or not. So if we are implementing such a system, it's important to take into consideration that whether a student wants to allow his parents to do this or not. If the will of the student is there, then the system is completely fine. But if you're sort of forcing the students to send, if you're forcing the whole system to send a student's grade cards to his parents, then I don't feel that that is really required as a whole. Because if we talk about parents, like parents often have a slightly painted picture about how value is attributed to academics, and it's important for the students. It's important for the students to like students are the ones who actually know which kind of values are attached to academics, how if they want to participate in some other activities. But if we consider the case of like students in ARP or students who have like categories 4 or 5, then I feel that there is a need to actively engage students in discussion with their parents. But otherwise, if the students are performing academically well, then I do not really feel that they should be forced to send the grade cards to parents, and it should be entirely on their own will if they want to do so or not.
Let's move on to views.
First of all, a student who is doing academically well would want to tell their parents about their grades, right? So there's no point having a portal and their affirmation or acknowledgement on whether they want to send it or not. This is majorly for students who are struggling with academics, right? And what I think from your stance, it meant that they wouldn't like to send it to their parents and it would be bad for them, right? So I agree with the fact that currently what we are trying to do is not have it for the general populace, but have it for the ARP students, and that is how it is planned to be presented in the Senate.
So like if the option is given to the students, like, these are comments, right? We're having comments, right?
Yeah. First, give your views.
Yeah. So like according to me. Students who are academically weak would obviously not like their parents to be involved, right? Otherwise they would tell them on their own. So the whole need for the program, the portal itself, I would still like you to clarify your view on that, because
Your view? Okay, so let's move to 4-question round.
So, coming to Sahil's question.
Just a minute, let him. भैया थोड़ा सही कर देना जो भी हो रहा है.
So the first question is, do you think there is need for such a portal, and if yes, like what improvements will you suggest in your tenure as a GS course?
It's a question answer round, you have to answer it.
Yeah, like so I think that if the portal is majorly focused on students who are weak in academics, who are not performing well, then a clarification is definitely required to actively involve the students, because I feel that more than considering whether they want to do this or not, considering the academic performance, it's required that parents be involved in them to avoid any more harm to the students. So I think that definitely should be done. Talking about the portal, I feel that the portal is fine so far. we can actually promote more students. We can actually have more students and parents sign up for the portal. But I think like if we consider the aspects of the other aspects of the portal, it's doing fine so far.
So for academically weak students, because academically well students, we are considering them that they want to tell their parents about their grades. That is something we have concluded, right? Would you make it compulsory for those students that their parents should know about their academics? And given that, what are the pros and cons of letting the parents know of the academic standing of, say, a student not doing well?
So I feel that if the set criteria is defined for what kind of people, what kind of students we are letting this portal do the work, what kind of people we are forcing to let the parents know, I think it's definitely required. And the pros will be that parents are the ones who can provide more, the most level of individual interaction. They can be most strongly engaged with the students as a whole. So I think there is a need to involve parents here. But the cons of the system we should talk about, it might be that the student would not prefer to do that. He might think he can improve, or he does not really want to involve his parents in that because of the fear of, because of a general fear that he does not feel his parents to put more pressure on that. But if the situation,
More than the fear, the debate of him being an adult and responsible for himself comes into place, right?
fair enough. The debate of him being an adult is definitely a point. But if you consider that the student has not been performing academically well since a long time, then I feel that if we consider the trade-offs that the systems are providing, there's a stronger need to do that, to engage the parents, instead of like letting him be the same. And if the current system is not helping, that is basically when it should be done. If the student shows signs of improvement, we do not really want to involve parents. But if the student hasn't been showing any improvements, for example, the way I proposed the two-strike system, then there's definitely a need to involve parents, whether the student wills or not, because there's a need for him to improve on his academics.
So finally, considering the entire support system that we are here at IIT Bombay offer, where do you see parents actually figuring out? So it has been mentioned that probably academically well-off students probably need not be part of this portal. So the major point being, how do you see the parents being a support group for students here at IIT Bombay?
Can you expand the middle part again? I didn't get.
Basically, like the question is, how do you see parents as a support group?
Okay. So, I think parents have to be involved as a proper support group here, because of all the system that we are providing here. If it's not helping them, parents are someone who have seen what their child is. They know the child better than most others. They know what all problems he's facing, etc. So that's why I feel that it's important that parents be involved in proper, like, talking to the students and all. That's how basically the idea of a support system is. Like, you cannot really debate if a parent will be a good support person or not.
Okay, last
on
question.
any grounds.
Last question. So currently the parent portals allows for the information to reach to the parents through a certain online medium, right? What could be done or should be done in the case where the parents are not comfortable with the portal in terms of even the accessibility of the portal and also some kind of a language barrier that they are facing?
So, for example, like the grade card system that was abolished, the initial purpose of that was to send the grade cards to parents, after which the need was finished. But if we feel that parents are not really comfortable with an online portal, then we could initiate the system back for the students who are academically weak and propose the program of sending grade cards to the parents again in these cases. So an offline medium could definitely help if we get a feedback that parents are not really comfortable with the portal. And
Just a correction, some students who are in the ARP and suffering from, say, academic backlogs, their parents are sent the grade cards presently as well.
Let's move to debate.
So I just want you to consider one particular situation where a student, let's say, is facing some serious academic backlogs, and the student denies to allow their parents to view their grade cards or any of the grade reports. Now do you think the system can
A bit louder.
Now do you think the system in itself is supportive, and how you would want to incorporate such students? Like how will you ensure that there can be something which can be done for such students?
So building on your statement that this student is doing really academically weak, might be in depression or something, and does not want to share his details with parents, then I feel that this is a case that needs to be dealt on an individual basis. Like we have a lot of systems in IT, but there are always proper consideration for cases that need individual attention. There's always a need, there's always felt by the authorities that they can make exceptions for people if they feel that the system is not supportive. So that's how I think that if such a situation really exists and he is strongly in disagreement of the whole system, he does not really want his parents and considers that this will be against his improvement, etc., then he can be like properly dealt on a case-to-case basis, maybe talk with the counselor and try to identify if there is actually an issue and if doing this could actually harm his own performance. So that should be dealt on a case-to-case basis.
So, as you said, it would be dealt on a case-to-case basis. If I'm not doing well academically, and if I have an option of not letting my parents know, I'll always take this card and say that it's not possible for my family to know about this, and consider me on for like not telling my parents about this.
So that's the whole point, that we are not really providing an option to like let them know or not. It's only if the student registers a very strong resistance to that.
How do you define strong resistance and how do you check the correctness of it?
So we can define a strong resistance if the person, let's say, might show signs of withdrawal, might approach a lot of authorities for that, and to check that.
I'll do all of that if I don't want my parents to know, right? Even if there is no such problem. I don't want my FRs to be known to my parent. As simple as that. So how do you judge my correctness based on
in parent portal, when a student deny to show their grades, the parent will know that student is not allowing them. And in the case which Mehul is mentioning, the parent will not get to know that his ward is not allowing them to see that. So after this clarification, please answer it.
And also, like, it would just defeat the purpose of having parents being involved in the support group that you were suggesting.
So, okay. So as I mentioned earlier, that parents have to be involved in the support group. But again, like this case, if it's that serious, then it has to be dealt on an individual basis. And talking about the portal, that parents would get to know if the student has denied that. If there is an option that academically weak students can choose not to allow that and parents are getting to know that, then I think that's a decent option to keep there. And if that option is there existing, then there is really not a need to like consider that he needs to apply to so many authorities, etc.
Okay, so something I asked right in the beginning, what is the downside of having parents as a support system?
So that could be judged by like the student, let's say some parents let's say parents not getting involved to the extent that they should be. Maybe the involvement of parents, if it's creating undue pressure, that could be one downside of the system. So it's really dependent on a number of factors, an interplay of number of factors. If the student, if parents are being propagated as a proper support group for the parents, or if the parent is actually putting more undue pressure than that is required. So that is a certain downside of the system.
Is there a need of letting all the parents over जिनके भी wards हैं आते हैं, letting the parents know that they have this particular right of getting to know their students' academic standing? Do we go about doing something for that?
All the students include all the students.
Last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm asking is, let's say I as a ward don't let my parents know about this facility being available. So do you do anything about that?
It does not matter whether you're academically weak or strong, right? Yeah, okay. So if they're all students, then I do not think that there is a need to let parents know that a portal exists. Because again, if they get to know about this, then they will obviously want to know the grade cards, and it should be on the will of the students whether they want to show it or not.
Just to add to that, so let's say there is a portal. I say yes to show my grades on the portal, and my parents are not aware of the portal. So it's as simple as not letting my parents know about this, right?
So that's for if we want to do that, then we can propose to do this in an offline way.
No, do you understand my point? Is there a way to let the parents know that there exists certain facility like this? Because if I agree to show, if I don't want to show my parents my grade sheet, I would agree to this and never let my parents know of this facility.
Okay, so if the student has agreed to let his parents know, then obviously he can like just simply contact. Yeah.
Okay, so let's end this. Move to next part, that is background check. We will have one question from the council. Yeah, proceed.
So this is specifically pertaining to your point in Triple S of launching a mobile app-based grievance helpline. So if you recall, this was also a point of the present GSA Square to have a registration query hotline, if you recall.
Have a
Registration query hotline, right? And from the council, you were the one who strongly opposed this. So what has changed since then, and what is your idea behind this query grievance helpline, and what are the queries that you're going to include in this purview?
Yes. So initially, when we were told of the helpline, we did not really get the whole idea behind what queries we're looking at, behind what would be the whole idea of a helpline, because we thought that it's going to be something in which someone would send a query and we would have to call back immediately or something. But after talking to the faculty that has been developing this app, I realized that it has a number of benefits which can be realized by implementing it for a grievance helpline. Because let's say that someone has any query, let's say how can you apply for a research project, or can we have any help session for some course? So if all the council members can devote like 10-15 minutes or like 20 minutes every day or every alternate day, in which they can just simply reply back to the queries, I think it makes the whole system more accountable. It reaches out to more students, and the target group is specifically not all students, but it's mostly the students who really do not know which person to contact. They would have just their one number, and they could contact them.
So we already have the QNG portal in place, right? So people can anyway send in their query. So why do you want to have a mobile app-based grievance helpline where you would need to have someone actually dedicate some part of their time every day or alternate day, as you said? Yeah, and you already have a lot of web infrastructure over to be done in the tenure.
Okay. So the reason why this is required is that it's generally seen that people who do not really know about, let's say, any facility that exists for them, or do not really know the person whom to contact for that, if they have a number in hand and they can talk out with the query, then talking out is considered to be more beneficial. Like, let's say, like he just dial a number and he gets a reply, maybe it's like 6-7 hours later, that yes, I want to talk to you about your query. What is the query? So that is how it increases the accountability and the transparency of the whole system, which typing in a number of times does not suffice. That has been quoted by some faculty.
Any more questions? Okay, let's move to next part. So in this, two questions will be asked from inside side. They will get 2.5 minutes to answer it. Okay? Yeah, each question.
Hi Anmol, I'm Karan Nikam from Inside. I'd like to ask you two questions. Each of the questions have some subparts, so pay attention. The first question is, how do you plan on extending the interdisciplinary dual degree program? How will the departments who don't necessarily have a DD program or MTech program or MSc program incorporate the students in terms of coursework?
In terms of coursework. That's what it's meant. So for this program, I've talked to a number of HODs, and they are in general highly supportive of this issue of having interdisciplinary dual degree program conversion. And the idea is that this proposal is currently being debated in UGPC plus TGPC, and they are just trying to sort out the logistics of MTech intake. If that issue is sorted, then this program can easily be implemented. A few departments are trying to increase the specializations to allow more number of people to convert to the dual degree. For example, EPs has only one specialization, Nano. They want to increase the number of specializations to have more students. So HODs are in general support of that. And this will be pushed on a department level. Maybe in the DUGC, racing onto UGPC plus PGPC. And for departments that do not have a DD program, it's already like they're already in favor of that. For example, civil is in favor of that, chemical is in favor of that. So they are ready to devote their resources for interdisciplinary dual degree. And the focus for students, for departments that do not have MTech programs or any other thing, then it's definitely not feasible there, because if they do not have an MTech program, they do not have the research facilities or the faculty, it's not possible there. It's only possible for students who have, for departments who have a proper program in place.
Alright. My second question for you is, what is the current outgoing and incoming limit on the students allowed to branch change currently? By what % do you plan to increase this? How many department HODs are in favor of this move?
So, in the current system, the maximum branch of a strength cannot exceed by 110% of its current strength, and it cannot fall below 75% of its current strength. And so that is the system that's currently in place. And I've been talking to HODs and pitching the idea that there are students who have good academic standing, but because of these rules, they are not being allowed to change their branch. So would you like more interested students to do a branch change in your department? And HODs have in general been very supportive of this. I've talked to like 7 or 8 HODs regarding that, and barring 1 or 2, all of them have expressed their approval of this, that they're ready to intake more students in them. And the whole idea is that if student wants to learn something, if he wants to study in some other branch, and he has the academic capabilities to cope up with the students of that branch, he should be allowed to do so. So yeah, that is the basic idea behind it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let's move to next round. Question from audience. Audience, do you have any question? From UG sides, who will be voting for you? Closing statement, you have 2 minutes.
So to conclude, academics is something that everyone is concerned with, and they all have their own problems dealing with that. So having talked to all the people, I believe that I know of a number of problems, and being a part of the UGAC since the last 2 years, I believe that I can devise systems to improve on all these problems. So lastly, I conclude by giving you my sincere commitment that if elected, I would be upfront in dealing with all the grievances that affect you, and would try to implement initiatives that would benefit not just a select few, but also all the masses. Thank you.
Any UG student want to ask question? Last opportunity. Any UG student want to ask question? Okay, so let's end this.